All right, what's going on, everybody? So I wanted to do a market update once again because things have gotten crazy over the past 24, 48 hours. As I've talked about in my previous video, we obviously now know that FTX as an exchange is insolvent, and Binance looks like it's going to try to help out in whatever capacity that they can. Obviously, looking at this note from CZ, which is just posted, maybe an hour ago or half an hour ago, talks about the state of things of where we are in terms of the market, their deal with FTX, or their potential deal and due diligence with FTX, and going forward, what to expect. So first thing that I want to do is just talk about mapping out the landscape of first of all, what happened over the past few months that have triggered these things, and where we are now and where we could expect to be going. And then we could talk about things from a sort of a philosophical long-term perspective, as well as how to cover your butts on the FTX exchange. What are potential tradable opportunities, if any? So let's get to it. So first things first, if we go back to say 2 years back, right? And I know this is a bit of a stretch, but just bear with me. I'll cover this up quickly. So 2 years back, when we had the COVID crash right there, right? We know that we had a big sell-off in the market. And then after that, what we had was a big rip off the lows. And this is where the rally was kicked off based on what was being printed by central banks around the world in terms of free money, free cash going into people's pockets, which then went into markets, which then pumped us, up to insane highs and made, everybody seemingly rich, at least for a temporary, second or a heartbeat. And then from there, what happened was the markets in this particular range started to show signs of, imbalance or distribution. And over here marked the exact top of the Fed, basically talking about inflation being a persistent issue or a developing issue, and them possibly hiking interest rates and quantitative tightening and all that. All that was announced right here in November 2021. And from there led the market to a bigger move on the way down. And this move right here kind of brought about the first, down leg of the market, which was the point where big players started to blow up. Number one, Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, and Luna all blew up around this period right here, May headed into June, which then created our first, again, seemingly, decent bottom that we've been in a range for the past, 3 or 4 months, right? This range right here was created simply on the back of Three Arrows Capital blowing up, Luna, Celsius, and some other lenders. Now what we're getting is the current weekly candle you're seeing now is all based on everything that's happened so far, plus, more shenanigans, more issues that are happening on a centralized exchange front, such as FTX, potentially going down. And I made a little map. And again, this is just a rough drawing of my visual of how I see the space and how it's going to be impacted. Now, remember, FTX went about many different ventures, meaning they started naming stadiums. So, we could say they named stadiums and bought a ton of different partnerships and all that stuff here, right? But this is completely outside the market, okay? What's within the crypto market, what matters to us is how they're connected to other entities. First, I want to go over here to Genesis Lending. And why is Genesis and Jump Capital important? Well, because both these guys actually lended to Three Arrows Capital. They were lenders. And again, Three Arrows Capital blew up, so they could not pay back the money that Jump Capital or Genesis Lending had lent out. And Jump Capital was also connected to Luna, okay? Obviously, again, Luna went to zero. Jump Capital was out of a bunch of money. When Luna was trying to defend its UST peg, right? So we're just going to say UST. Jump had lent them, got, I think, close to like $300 or $400 million. Again, don't quote me I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know there is definitely a connection of a lending going back and forth. So Jump, Genesis, these two big lenders, and I think there's a third one, and the name is, I want to say, what's it called? Cumberland. I think Cumberland is another lending platform. So I think Cumberland also in some way might have exposure. Cumberland Crypto. Please make sure you sort of, look up this information before taking my word as sermon or anything, or as the truth. But I do know that, some of these bigger lenders do have exposure. So here's Cumberland crypto trading firm says it had virtually no exposure to FTX. Okay, but what about, exposure to Alameda? What about exposure to directly Jump Capital or Genesis? Because lenders can also lend to other lenders, right? So I don't know if that's clear so far. They are saying they don't have direct exposure to FTX. But the point is that we know that two big players, Genesis and Jump Capital, are big lenders, and they have already suffered in May and June, and now they're about to suffer more because they are all, Genesis and Jump are also connected to Alameda, and Alameda is connected to FTX. Alameda was the biggest market maker for FTX, and this is where things get murky. The reason why FTX is going under is because they had probably some issues regarding their own user funds. Okay, user funds being used to give to Alameda right here, to use for market making, to use for early stage investments, to use for whatever degeneracy. And so this is where FTX as an entity could be, at a potential loss using user funds to give to Alameda, right? So this is where the issue comes to understanding, which is that using user funds on FTX to give to Alameda, and then FTX as a whole being blown up because of FTT. Okay, so why is FTT important? FTT is important because one of the biggest holders of FTT was Alameda, and by that relationship, FTX. So when FTT as a bag, of billions of dollars start to go down 10, 20, 30, 50, 70%, well, now we're staring at the bottom of the barrel of the gun that basically blew up FTX. Okay, and now everything connected to FTX is about to go to shit. Obviously, BlockFi, Genesis Lending, Jump Capital, Alameda, user funds, stadium rights, whatever they're connected with is about to really take a turn for the worst. And this is where we are now today. Where we are today is the fact that the crypto market is facing probably one of the toughest times it's ever seen. But it has nothing necessarily to do with the technology of crypto, but more so of the same techniques that have been utilized for the past, several decades or generations, with humans being greedy and doing dumb stuff. But one cannot fault, FTX alone, just like you cannot fault yourself for having money on FTX. By the way, I have money on FTX. I'm sure many people watching this video have money on FTX. Many people probably got blown up by, Celsius. But again, all these things seemed safe, in air quotes, almost a year ago. But now as the market takes a downturn, it seems almost everything is unsafe. And, we now go back to the origins of what crypto is supposed to be, which is, what Satoshi introduced, self-custody, be your own bank. And then, of course, the advent of DeFi, which is sort of trading on-chain on, protocols like maybe GMX or Sushi or Per Protocol, or being in ecosystems such as, Matic or Atom or Ethereum, where there may not be any central entities who can steal your funds or do things with them that you don't want them to do. And now that brings us to prices. Well, as I explained before, where we are today right now is probably one of the most crucial points in history. And this point in history will not be forgotten. It will be etched into the stone of crypto, milestones forever. Because this is one of those things where, in my opinion, I don't think crypto will ever be the same going forward from yesterday or today, let's just say, because so many things have come to light regarding centralized entities, regarding, sort of the degeneracy that crypto has faced over the last 1.5 years. Well, regulators, SEC said, are going to crack down even harder. Governments, lenders, almost everyone is going to look at crypto as a massive pot of Ponzi's and uninvestable asset class. And this is going to happen with your friends, your family, banks. Everybody's going to look at crypto as just this one big casino, and that it could not withstand sort of this turmoil. And they will probably blame crypto for everything that's going wrong in terms of prices, in terms of FTX. But we know that deep down, the actual ethos and the technology of crypto has nothing to do with what FTX did. In the same way, it has nothing to do with what Three Arrows Capital did, or Celsius did, or Luna, right? All these are bad actors, and FTX included. And now we can finally accept the reality of where we are in the market, which is, at this point, our market looks like shit, and it is probably going to get worse. But the worsening effects could actually lead to a greater, more positive outcome for the future. Because if you're in crypto and you want to be here for the long haul, you know very well that the technology is here to stay. No matter how you look at crypto or how you want to cut it, crypto is still probably 10 times or 100 times better from a technological perspective, from a due diligence, a verification or check perspective. It is better than the traditional financial system. So the technology is here to stay. Who stays, what projects stay, how the space looks like the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year from now, that remains to be seen. But guess what? I'm here for it, right? And I hope you are too, because we know deep down that this space has so much to offer that there is no other investable asset class in the world that is building in the same way the technologies that are going to revolutionize the world, like crypto. Okay. So with that in mind, if you are here to stay for the next month, the next 6 months, the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you want to build and you want to trade and you want to invest, because none of this phases you, right? Of course, it sucks. Again, I've taken losses on FTX right now. I took losses when, I had security issues in September. I faced the bear market in 2018 and 19. We went through the COVID crash together, those of you who are members, and we're still here today. So if you're here to stay, here's what I can tell you. The market will be here tomorrow and 1 year from now, but the prices will vary greatly. The projects will be different. The players will be different. And maybe most of your friends or family, or even the people that you see on Twitter, may not be there. But if you are here, next year or next few months, trust me, the payoff and the rebuilding process is going to be amazing. And it will be a revolution that you definitely want to be a part of. Okay. In terms of price action, I expect prices to be beat up. Okay. I stated this a couple days back on my Twitter feed. I said that this, unfolding of what's happening on FTX, in my eyes, there's no possible way that the crypto assets, where did I post this? Shoot. Yeah. So this is like, 24 hours ago, right? Prices were sitting at, 20,500 for BTC. ETH was trading at, or total market cap was at 975 billion. Matic was trading at $1.22. ETH was trading at 1560. And guess what? Prices have come down. BTC has now broken the June low, currently trading at 1977. It's down almost 15% from when I posted this tweet right here. That was like literally 24 hours ago, right? In the next 24 hours or in the next week, I don't even know how low the prices can go. But guess what? I don't think this market is done. And as I said before, this is one of those points in the market where we know nothing will ever be the same in crypto again. And that's a good thing, because at least people realize that we cannot be on the same path of this shit show. We have to change things up. We have to get rid of the centralized entities, or at best, what CZ had recommended is, build out a Merkle tree proof check of funds, meaning centralized exchanges will have to have sort of this validation check of audits that users can see in real time. So you can see right here, he talked about it. Users can see real time of how Binance and other exchanges are holding up their reserves or holding up their money, to make sure that users know, hey, wait a second, Binance is not just YOLO degenning our money into random projects or other funds. And so this, again, is going to be how the future is going to look versus how the past looks, in terms of FTX or Three Arrows Capital or Celsius, etc. And again, this is a great thing. So prices going forward, I believe fundamentally prices will be lower. I don't know how much lower. I think BTC can probably retest this ascending trend line. And if we just throw on a quick, price label right here, if it drops next week, I'm expecting 14,000 at minimum for prices for BTC. Maybe even better, a wick retest at this SR level, which is around, which is around $11,000 or $12,000. From here, that's about a 30-ish% drop in prices. And that's just in Bitcoin. In Ethereum, I think things look a little bit more murkier. I think in Ethereum, we already rejected this 1950 level. From here, I had already expected, another 50 to 70% breakdown on ETH. And that takes ETH somewhere around this key SR level back here in 2018 and 2020, around $480, all the way to a low of about $350 to $370 down here, which is, from current prices, another 70% drop. So again, this is the worst case scenario. I have no idea. Maybe this is the bottom, right? Maybe I'm way too bearish, and maybe Binance and CZ and everybody who wanted to sell sold. Maybe, but you got to ask yourself, like, what are the chances of that? And what are the chances that we don't even know what kind of contagion is left ahead of us? Because remember, when Three Arrows Capital was showing signs of a blow up, or Celsius or Luna, no one wanted to believe it for the first 24, 48 hours until the prices really start to slide. And before you know it, within a week, right, or a couple of weeks, we went from a 32,000 high on BTC to almost a 50% drop or a 46% drop in BTC, up down to 17.5 by the middle of June, right? So in the span of 1 to 2 weeks, a lot can happen. Okay, so this is what we will be paying attention to. The assets, once again, I will be watching very closely, are things like Ethereum, because it has staying power, because it has shown us that it has the ability to weather bear markets. And then I'll be watching Atom at a distance, of course. Again, I know Atom as an ecosystem has talked about how much it's growing and how many developers it has and how it's different from other ecosystems. You need to look at everything in crypto with a heavy, heavy grain of salt. And this is why I've talked about, many times before, that if you look at crypto only in the isolated vacuum view of just cycles, like this is an up cycle, this is a down cycle, that's it. You don't need to watch for the fundamentals of an asset once the up cycle changes to the down cycle. What you really need to do is become a trader and a scalper of these assets on a daily time frame or a weekly or a monthly time frame, and that's it, right? Because the fundamentals in a bear market change a lot. A lot gets revealed in a bear market that you would have never found out in a bull market, because in a bull market, everyone has money. No one really cares about the technology a whole lot. And we're all just, looking to get rich. But in a bear market, things actually have to work. Things have to show us that they have, a proper revenue model, an ability to make money, or a desire to make money. a reason why users should stay and trade on their ecosystems of their platform. And I kind of believe that Ethereum is going to be that protocol that will once again retain users, retain trust. I think Atom is getting there. I think Atom probably, in the next few weeks will fall in price, but I don't think it will disappear. I don't think it'll just, go to zero. And I don't think the users will just leave. This might be a sort of a controversial hot take, but I also think Solana is going to be here to stay. By the way, FTX was also working with Alameda to pretty much be heavily invested in Solana. So if they're dumping their bag, by the way, Solana could easily go back down to the, DeFi summer 2020 levels, which is around $4 or $5. That's almost, a 75% drop from current prices. So again, Solana, definitely a grain of salt. All these assets, grain of salt, but I'll be watching these closely. Add to that, Matic. I still think Matic's, business development team, as well as, Matic founders are still growing and building, and they're doing whatever it takes to survive this market. And if you have the mentality of just surviving and not getting greedy and not making dumb mistakes, I think you'll be just fine. Okay. I think you will have the ability and the staying power for the next cycle. So Matic, Atom, Ethereum, and a heavy grain of salt with Solana. Everything else, I don't even know if it'll exist next week. I don't know if it'll be here till the next cycle, like Polkadot or FTM or One Harmony or AVAX. I have no idea. Okay. Now, obviously, there's tokens like, GMX and Curve and Maker and DYDX and Aave. These are going to be probably repriced in a way because they're going to be looking at, people are going to be looking at DeFi as a larger, more niche investable asset class, but one that is probably a little bit safer and one that is probably the quote unquote, future of crypto. Because in all of these things, we never really saw Maker or DYDX or Aave or Compound or Sushi or Uniswap blow up. We never saw them making degen bets like outside of the protocols because there's not necessarily that kind of ability for them to just take user funds and lend them out without the actual consent of the users, right? Because they're protocols, they have built-in mechanisms. So pay attention to these as, future investable assets. But again, it doesn't mean that they can't go down another 50%. It just means that their technology and their actual core of why they exist, their reason for existence is more true today than it was, 2 days back. Okay, that's what I mean. And then, of course, there's lenders like Maple and TrueFi and all these other lenders, which could also be, doing decent in the future. But for now, it's going to suck and we're going to get through it. Okay. Are there any questions so far? There's, by the way, tons of threads out there that you can read, regarding FTX and Binance. I mean, everyone is going to write a thread, right? Like everyone is going to talk about who's lost how much money and, what's going to happen with the FTX funds. I'm not here to speculate that. Let's just all assume that we're going to lose a bunch of money, or whoever's on FTX, has lost a good chunk of money or maybe all our money, right? But at the end of the day, one thing that we've been talking about is, what will the future hold? And, if FTX does go under, well, how does that change for the market? And, we often reiterate risk management, right? We reiterate risk management because we know how important it is in any market, in any sort of human mindset, because you can never really trust any one entity. Okay. This is why, I've talked about still using Coinbase, still using Phantom Wallet or MetaMask or Solana ecosystem, because I really don't know which of these technologies is going to fail, right? So point is, like, just like, I, as well as many others, are learning the lesson of self-custody or using on-chain or maybe diversifying risk between centralized players and decentralized players, right? All these things we're all learning together, okay? DBX says, can I add everyone when I post updates on my scalps? Yeah, I did add everyone. It's right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. I didn't add everyone on the exit, but I just posted here in the in the altcoin chat channel as well as high risk scalps. But okay, if you want me to add everyone every time, that's fine. I just don't want to annoy people with the everyone tags. Okay, so there's a question in the chat, best short assets 1 to 4 week time horizon. Okay, first thing, in my opinion, I really think we should listen to CZ regarding do not trade FTT. I really think this is probably the best piece of advice that you need to take, which is that it is a highly volatile and probably illiquid asset. By the time you put on a $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 position, not only will the market slip you in one direction or the other, but to just get out of that position, you may be able to, slip the market multiple percentage points up or down, or you may not be able to get out of your position that easily. So be incredibly careful of how and if you trade FTT. That's number one. So point is, if you're looking for assets to trade, it's not FTT, the token. If you're looking for just simple directional bets, I think it's very simple, right? Like, here's how I look at it, okay? And I'm going to mention this in two different ways. Number one, if you think that the crypto market is going to blow up today or this week or next week, right? Then you just go net short everything. And you say, you know what? I'm going to short and my stop is just going to be above 20,000, or let's just say, 10, 15% deep stop. More than likely for BTC or Ethereum, these high volume, high liquid assets, you're not going to get those huge wicks. Okay, you're not going to get 10, 15% wicks to the upside on ETH. It's possible, by the way, but it's just very unlikely. You're not going to get those kinds of wicks on Matic. You're not going to get those kinds of wicks on Atom. And in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get those kinds of wicks on BTC as well. Okay, so point is, you just go net short and you just say, hey, from the point at which FTX and all this shit started happening, which is probably right there, I'm just going to get short now, stop above here, ride this thing down until next week or next month. And wherever prices are, when the bodies start to stack up, when you start to see more and more players go underwater, when you start to see the entire crypto landscape look like it's going to die, then you just cover your short. But the issue with that is, well, what size of a short position do you have, and will there be liquidity at that point to get out of your position properly? With BTC, I think you'll be fine. With Ethereum, I think you'll probably still be fine. Maybe even Atom, maybe even Matic, but everything else looks a little bit murky. Because if Solana, let's just say, again, just an example, if Solana goes down, say 50%, right? The market cap is wiped by 50%. That means you need to have a big enough player to be able to get you out of your position, out of your short, because to get out of a short, again, you have to buy a long on the other side to close out. So you need a willing buyer or a willing market participant, such as a market maker, to step in and say, hey, I'll absorb, your short closure, and that's fine. So those are the concerns that you may need to think about beyond just current perspective of where the market is. And this is why I'm urging you with extreme caution, whatever trades that you put on, just be very careful with your stops, with your liquidity, and the kind of volatility that you'll be facing for the next few days ahead, because shit is going to get worse. Liquidity is going to dry up. Players are going to be even more aggressive and mean, and a little bit more aggressive and almost like insulting on Twitter for shorting or longing or whatever, right? So point is, like, your goal right now is just survival. Now, I have just one perspective to give you, and it is this, and this is how I'm looking at the markets, okay? So again, in the high risk scalp account, you guys know very well, right? I posted my P&L curve just a couple of days back. You know, I racked up a good amount of wins. I was fortunate, very, very fortunate to start taking out this money out of FTX for the past few days. And again, this is my high risk DGen account, right? This is not money that I rely upon, but it's good money when I do scalp, okay? So it just so happened to be that I was lucky enough, you know, 2, 3, 4 days back to start moving that money out and then posting my P&L curve of how I was scalp trading in my high risk account. And I was doing extremely well because the market was good. It was great for trading anything between 15 minutes to 1 to 2 hours. Anything beyond that, I could not hold that trade long enough because the market would swing so much up and down. Okay, so what I'm mentioning to you is, first of all, one of the best ways to be successful in the crypto markets right now is to be able to secure your profits and get out of your trades and realize that profit into your bank account, into your Coinbase, into your MetaMask. Now with FTX, that gets a little bit trickier, right? If you have not done that already and say your money is stuck, okay, you could look at it 2 ways. Number one, you're screwed and I'm screwed. And everybody on FTX is screwed. Maybe all our money goes to zero, maybe none of it, or maybe half of it goes to zero, and we get some of that money in a long, drawn-out process, which may take months or maybe even years. This guy right here wrote it off best, right? He said, hey, I'm just writing off my balances on FTX, you know, managed to withdraw a lot, but foolishly left chips on the table thinking it can't be that bad. In my opinion, Binance backs out of the deal, FTX shuts down, and then it goes into a bankruptcy process where we only see a fraction of our money in a few years. It's pretty messed up, but this might be a scenario, right? And this is a scenario that I am, in all honesty, preparing for the worst. So if you're preparing for the worst, right, here's how you can look at it. You could just say, well, if the whole industry is going to go down 30, 40, 50%, why don't I just short the shit out of everything, right? And if it squeezes back up, whatever, okay, maybe my money comes back, maybe it doesn't. Okay, that's how, again, very high risk, not financial advice. But why don't I just short it and let the market do its thing? And I don't care where the market goes, well, 1 week or 1 month from now, but at least if the market is alive 6 months from now or 1 year from now, maybe I have more money because of my short positions. And maybe I can buy these assets back at a lower price in a month or, you know, in a 6 month or 1 year. That's one way to look at it. The other way is you leave your money as is, hope for the best, pray for the best, and, you know, kind of forget about FTX for a little while. Maybe you keep trading, maybe you don't. Maybe you just, you know, lick your wounds and take on whatever losses that you did, and, you know, you move on to another exchange like Binance or BitGet or Bybit, or you move on chain, you know, to DYDX or GMX or any of these different protocols, right? So these are your options. None of them are great, but they're all there for you, again, for the future. And I know it sucks to go through this moment. I know, you know, maybe whatever I'm saying may not be extremely helpful in this moment, but I do want you to know that the crypto market as a whole, probably right now, is reeling and suffering together, right? Me included, you included, who's watching. So we'll get through these times together, and we'll lean on each other to keep building, to keep hoping that crypto markets get better over time, crypto markets get smarter, and that we will stick together and we'll keep building for the future. Okay? That's pretty much all I have. Is there any questions? Are there any questions that I can answer? Something that you want me to go through? So from a trading perspective, like I said, I personally think this entire market is very, very tough to trade, untradeable, unless you're just quick scalping in and out of positions. That's it. If you are holding on to swing positions, watch those squeezes, especially if you have big positions that you cannot get out of that easily. All right, because you may get slipped multiple percentages up and down. Okay. All right, well, that's it. If there's no more questions, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I know it's tough times, but let's stick together. Let's get through this. And I hope to keep working with you guys, you know, for the foreseeable future, you know, until the next bull market, honestly, because I don't want to give up on crypto. I'm here to stay, and I hope you are too. All right. Cheers, everybody. Take care.